Live, yeah.
Hey, well, should have been here.
Oh. Okay, we'll wait a minute to see anybody.
Yes, anybody. Yes.
Yeah, connect on. But okay, what is the topic again?
You said.
What is the topic?
How to fix the dysfunction in self.
Okay.
How to fix the dysfunction in the self.
Hey y'all, it's Nicole over at Blue Herbal Goddess. We are back after 2. And last week we had a lively discussion that, we had to end because some of us kept going and we started having discussion about how to fix the dysfunction in self, because that's kind of what we ended with our last discussion. So we had to start over this week to let's lead with that. How do we fix the dysfunction in self? So.
Whoa, so first you got to know your dysfunction. Because some people don't even know they're dysfunctional.
Oh, some people don't even know that they are living in a dysfunctional type world, or even dysfunctional even within themselves. And I can agree with that. I know several people like that.
Yeah, me too. I know several. Dysfunctional. Not operating normally or properly. Deviating from the norms of social behavior in a way regarded as bad. Right? So we look at and measure the values of those words, not operating normally or properly. We're talking about the self now.
Uh-huh.
So then we would have to understand what is the function of the self and what is the self, right? So we can understand if it is, in fact, dysfunctional.
Okay.
Right? Because somebody may have assigned a value as dysfunctional to a thing, but who are you to assign that value to myself?
So are you trying to say then we're putting our own values on other people if we label that as dysfunctional?
I think the majority of times we operate based on our opinions. We're very opinionated about how a self should operate.
And that's somebody else's opinion. Or,
And somebody else dysfunctional self assigned a value to myself operating as
okay,
the way I want to operate.
So how about we take this not from self, but not from third party, but to self, because you yourself know destructive behavior. You yourself know behavior that would say takes you out of character where you want to be. That way.
Okay. All right.
Because
we can go there.
Because all of us have some form of dysfunction that we were raised within, we work within, and things like that. But how about you take that from a standpoint more of the dysfunction that you have identified that you don't want to be or don't want to be in?
Well, I think that the key would be what you just said or alluded to. You would have to identify that you don't want to exist in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step one.
Well, but
y'all write this down at home. Step one. Identify that you don't want to exist in it.
No, but don't you first have to identify that you've identified it as dysfunctional?
Yeah, okay. So that's step 2. Step 1, you have to identify the behavior as dysfunction.
Right.
So would the behavior be like just keep repeating the same cycle and get no results out of it?
What do they call that? An oxymoron.
Yeah, or insanity.
Insanity, yes.
Yeah, repeat the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
Right. But what if I repeat the same thing and I enjoy the result that I'm getting?
Well, then you don't think it's dysfunction.
Yeah. You don't.
Then your ass is just crazy.
Well, says who? Who say that's crazy?
Again, I'm on the outside looking out, so then that would be me saying that. But again, like this goes back to saying, if you don't think that your dysfunction is dysfunctional, then I guess it's not dysfunctional.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was you about to say?
Y'all got me going here now. Because that's a good point, because some people do like that dysfunction.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I guess we do too. I mean, just look at how we.
There are some parts of what you do that you enjoy, either the chaos or the dysfunction. It could be a relationship. It could be a relationship that you actually enjoy.
For instance, right? For instance, you got a lot of people that have initiatives to try to address homelessness.
Yes.
Right? I was speaking to a young lady in the Nashville area. She didn't call them homeless. She said they're unhoused.
Okay.
Right? So we look at this person as living on the street and say that's dysfunctional, right? This person is homeless. They live outside. This person has decided to live outside, right? When they did their budget, right, they said I could do without this $1,500 mortgage.
But they're the same as a person choosing to be.
So she calls them unhoused.
Unhoused. They're unhoused because the Joker made a decision to live outside.
Okay.
I'm calling it dysfunctional,
okay.
Right? But I ain't dealing with their problem set the way that they dealing with their problem set.
So let's go back to our original thought process. how do you fix the dysfunction in self? So again, go back to now that I've identified
it.
that this is behavior I want to change,
That
and I say it's dysfunctional. Yeah. Then you put a pin in it.
Remembering that the definition for dysfunction is a thing not operating normally.
Okay, so now you want a new normal.
I want a new normal. I'm striving to have a new normal.
You can't have a new and a normal.
No, if you identified this as dysfunctional, then you have to create a new normal if you don't like that dysfunction.
Yeah.
You do have to create
a new
normal.
A new way of operating.
Correct.
I'm going to create a new way of operating, and over time, that way of operating will become normal.
Okay, but then ain't it time to change that? The more you want to elevate in life, shouldn't you want to change?
Well, I think when we say dysfunction, when we're attacking it from the dysfunctional perspective, we're saying that thing that is not operating normally or correctly, right, inside of the self. Because again, it brings us back to we got to understand what the self is. A lot of us use the term self, but we don't really have a real understanding of what the self is. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm preaching to the pastor.
I agree.
Right. All right. So the first place where a joker need to start at is go out and go determine or go study what self is.
Exactly. Yeah. Take the time.
Message
to quiet yourself long enough to get to know self.
Ooh, hey, say that again. Say that again.
Quiet down long enough to get to know self. Yeah. Because a lot of times the self that we have created, it either falls in line with other people's norms, societal norms, our cultural norms, and that is who we have become, not necessarily the true identity of who we are.
But that should have made your mind explode. Right? Yeah. Because then what it'll help a joker understand is that right now, everybody who listens to the sound of your voice is operating based on somebody else's opinion of self.
Did you just call him a joker?
Yeah, I called him a joker. Hey, that's the people call him what Bernie Mac called him. Bernie Mac called him a motherfucker.
A joker. Okay.
Exactly. Right. So then when you go in and you go study self.
Yes.
First understand that you got to be able to quiet your mind in order to be able to hear the self.
Meaning not in ego. I.e. not in ego, because if you're in ego, you already know the answer to the question without even asking the question sometimes.
Hey, Joe be talking right now. As you speaking, they talking and having an opinion about what you're saying right now. And it's like, that's the voice we asking you to silence.
Right, because in order to really know thyself, you have to sometimes move in not so normal
you got to be opposite of that.
Correct, because
to find yourself.
Because I would not have ended here in walking in what I believe is my purpose if I would have been an ego, because I'm like, I'm making good money. There's no way in hell I'm gonna quit. You know, an engineer and Six Sigma lean manager's job to come do this, because that was not in the cards. That wasn't right. It wasn't in the cards. So following the intuition is one of the things that we're supposed to be moving towards, because it helps you to identify what self looks like.
And none of us. I should say none of us. There are some amongst us, but the majority of us, we don't operate in harmony with ourselves. Right? Because when we operate in harmony with ourselves, we move in tune with the universe.
But we'll go back to what you said before we came on. Like, look how we are put together already, like we said, like the woman. She already know how to nurture and do all of that. You know what I mean? Y'all be giving dogs. So you already taught how to be functional in that way. You know what I mean? And
but some things are not as normal or as you think. There are some women that have babies that are not nurturing, that don't want to, don't have those qualities, right? And so sometimes it's not intuitive.
And we have a very terrible problem, because if you look at it, everything inside of the woman is scientifically engineered or manufactured in order to be able to accommodate the life that she's getting ready to conceive, right? Even that child's milk, right? The milk that's produced during that cycle is specifically genetically engineered for that baby.
For that baby, not your man.
Not your... Hey.
I just said it out loud. I mean to just go ahead. I mean,
never had no. What did he call it? Bolivian breast milk. Hey, it's an amazing thing.
I sidetracked him. I'm sorry.
I think we could sell it for probably about like an ounce or a pint.
You know what I'm saying? I sidebarred him. So, okay, but go back to again.
I'm sorry, because I was going somewhere. So what I was saying, so as that woman's body is prepared, as men, if we operate according to the self, then all of my actions from the moment of conception should be designed to also nurture the life that I put into the woman, right? So my activity, my productivity, my thoughts, the power that I exert as a man, right? You know, some of us, they say, you know, you get somebody pregnant, you get sleepy, right? Yeah. Me, when I got a child on the way, I can't sleep. You know what I'm saying? I got to get 2-3 jobs. I have to stay doing something. Right? Nothing in me will slow down because I realize that it's a pressure that's on me because the way myself operates is myself says myself has created a second self and the third self and the fourth self and the fifth self. But don't do my child support.
Okay. So what were you going to say, Mike?
Go.
No, because the thing is, though, and I agree with you, that there are some qualities in which you're born with, but with the society as it is and as it has morphed into and trying to understand thyself and fixing those things that we deemed as dysfunction, right? Going in and quieting ourselves is the way to do it. But as a man, right, how easy is that for you to just step back and quiet your mind long enough to be able to say whether you think what you're doing is dysfunction or not? Because that's kind of how we started this whole kind of discussion how do we heal? Women, we heal openly. Yeah. Y'all don't heal openly. Y'all go in your cage and shit. So how do you then identify that indeed your behavior is dysfunctional? It's not like you're going to walk around telling everybody. They'll be like, girl, you know, I messed up. You know what the hell I did? Now, we'll sit there. We'll have this
that's not how we
y'all are not going to even admit.
That's very rare.
Deny. This is for Eddie Clemmer. Deny.
What you say though, Mike? What's your thoughts about it? Because I got an opinion about it, but I want to see what you think. How do you do it? But what's required? Because first, remember, step one, we got to be able to identify that it is a dysfunction.
Yeah. Right.
But how? What's your opinion about that?
Me personally, I got to the point where I can settle my mind. I can sit back and observe like this, that, and I know that's dysfunctional, and I know I pay attention to the cause and effect of my actions, of my function.
Okay.
So if my function is not right, I know that's dysfunction. And
so if you don't get the result that you're looking for, is that what you're saying?
Because you're going to get the results because you're going to attract whatever you put out there, functional or dysfunctional.
Okay.
So I had to look at it that way because I'm like, why am I dealing with around so much dysfunctional atmosphere? It was me. I didn't know myself, so I had to learn how to function.
You're pulling in what you are on the inside.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I would only offer, I would say, experience and example. You know what I'm saying? Do experience and example. So I may be operating in a way, right? And, you know, the majority of our households are maternal, right? So there is no true example of what the behavior should look like. And so if I don't have an example of what the behavior should look like, then I have nothing as a man. I have nothing to model. And so then I'm left to rely on experience to discover that the behavior is, in fact, dysfunctional. And so when we think about how do we create the atmosphere that will allow us to identify the dysfunctional behavior, we have to create new experiences, shared experiences, particularly as men.
What was that word?
Shared experiences. Not that we're gonna share. Not that we're gonna share what we got, thinking what's on our mind.
Okay. So then, how do you have shared experiences?
By having, because for example, I got a cousin who was in a real bad situation. I went to Atlanta over the weekend to go visit with his family. And speaking with his wife, she shared something with me that he said relative to having a strong desire to cultivate a healthy relationship with her. When she used those words, you understand? When she used those words relative to his desire for his relationship, it impacted my heart in a way I can't even explain to you. Now, when you create opportunities for men and you see a man modeling that behavior, and you see him working to cultivate that relationship, it makes you consider the dysfunction. It makes you consider the things that you aren't doing. When you see a person interacting with their son, when you see a man interacting with their son, and you think about the opportunities that you had that you've neglected right? It makes you consider them. So shared experience, not necessarily sharing.
Not
necessarily
shared
sharing.
experience by what you're able to see and interact with.
The light bulb should click on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In my opinion, in my opinion, not that that's the only way. It's a way. You know, it's not the only way.
That's a good way though.
No. Yeah. So then there has to be more opportunities to view these shared experiences. I mean, we already know television is not it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Not.
So then how do we create an environment where we can have these shared experiences?
you know, we say television is not it, but I think it's a tool. Okay. Right? But it's a tool that we have no influence over. So we can't use it for a benefit. We can't use it. We can't put healthy images on TV or in media that will allow us to have the example. You see what I'm saying? And because we don't have the ability to control that system, right, we're subject to it, right?
So, like you said, watching television. Mm-hmm. A lot of people watch television with this, but you need to watch television with that.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about, your third eye?
Yeah, I mean,
I done had to tune some things out because I'm like, the negative energy that comes from the stuff that you see.
Well, I think that television is designed to disconnect or shut off the third eye. I think it's designed to do that.
I can see that.
Say that word again.
Television. Yeah.
Oh, television. Oh, it's
television.
Yeah. So it's giving you the vision of what they want you to see.
Yeah.
Well, damn. Yeah.
Because when we start
how you gonna put that together? Like, dang. Television.
It's a concept called Schrodinger's cat, and in this concept, Erwin Schrödinger, who was a German psychologist, postulated a thought experiment in which he put a cat in a box and he exposed the cat to radiation and poison. And at some point in time, the cat would be considered alive and dead. But it was considered alive and dead simultaneously based on the perspective of the individual who was viewing the cat.
The Walking Dead. Like, it's what we would call the Walking Dead.
So now it's a thought experiment. And these experiments these are things that, people use to modify thought, at Harvard, Yale, University of Pennsylvania, MIT. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm saying that as a foundation in case you're questioning what I'm saying. Tell your ass to go look it up so you understand what a thought experiment is and what it's designed to do. It's designed to make you think. Yeah. But what I want us to think about is relative to Schrodinger's cat, is that if Schrödinger exposed the cat to poison and radiation simultaneously in order to be able to produce a particular state based on how it was viewed, is there anything in our society that mimics the poison and the radiation that we're exposed to? Bomb, radioactive source, right? Yeah. Poison.
Cell phone.
Television. Go back to the television.
Well, I'm saying when you think poison, you gonna leave out here, you gonna drive past that McDonald's. The line gonna be wrapped around the corner, right? These things, these genetically modified organisms that we consuming mimic the poison. The radioactive device now provides us with a sufficient amount of radiation for us to be alive and dead simultaneously based on how we're being viewed.
Why do you think everything is like 5G now?
I know, hey, you like that?
But it makes sense though. I mean,
you see what I'm saying? That's real.
You done took that to a whole nother.
Right. So
that could be a whole nother discussion.
Because we talking about trying to fix the dysfunction itself, right? We got to be able to identify the dysfunction. Then we got to identify that we possess the dysfunction,
which leads us to the understanding of self. Because through that. Then you got like 222 11.
You like that?
Like 222 11. That was all on your damn phone.
That's right. I'm hot.
Good gracious, all them numbers. But anyways, but that goes back to as you're understanding self and wanting to change dysfunction. Part of that is eating habits.
Absolutely.
What you see.
Absolutely.
Who you hang around.
Absolutely.
Right. It's almost like you evaluate the whole structure of who you have become at that moment, because hell, you done went from the phone to McDonald's to I need to be able to see what it is, right? So all of that comes into play as you're evaluating self, and whether what you're calling dysfunction is you have to make the changes. Yeah. It's not just one thing. There's a whole lot of things that you have to evaluate.
So again, back to the main point was how to fix the dysfunction in the self, right? So 1, identify the dysfunction. 2, identify that we have a need to address the dysfunction. And then 3, what we're talking about right now would be identify the sources by which the inputs right? So we know if we're sitting around all day and we're consuming, too much social media, right? How much positivity are we consuming from social media? If we're not eating any healthy foods, right?
Which means nothing that has been cooked, dyed, or anything. Things that were alive, like leafy greens, vegetables, stuff like that.
Oh, I have mercy.
I'm listening, and everything we discussing is.
That don't mean I'm gonna become vegetarian or vegan. I was just throwing that out.
I'm working at that thing though. I'm pretty solid right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I might eat chicken because I might eat really chicken and fish is where I'm at right now, and I'm trying to really get away from chicken. But and fish is real strange. I'm talking like once a week now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll be right here floating. Y'all gonna be in real trouble because my madness ain't nothing calmed down yet. So you know what I'm saying?
Yes, because he's still cray. But
so everything like we discussing, and I like it's about self, right? Mm-hmm. But everything we discussed got us outside of self. So how can
we ain't even came inside of self yet.
Everything that we discuss, that's outside of self.
That exactly. And
and people might not like this. Even our beliefs got us outside of self.
That's right. That's real.
And that's how all the dysfunctional and everything is flowing.
That's real.
What you said.
Yeah, we don't know ourselves.
What you said.
Everything is outside of self. Everything we done said has nothing. It's like Donald's TV. It's phone. Nothing with.
Yeah. So now we say how to fix the dysfunction in the self.
Yeah.
But we ain't even made it into the self yet.
Because
y'all have to keep watching.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a long way to go.
Yes. So our time is up.
Hey, because really, we only got 6 minutes. Hey, because in order to do that, because we really would have to address like how am I going to decalcify my pineal gland? Yeah. Right? We got a ways to go. We ain't even cracked it yet.
Unlearn to relearn. We don't have to do all of that. Yeah.
Go ahead. You
Unlearn to relearn.
Come on, man.
So we haven't even gotten.
We need to get some shirts that say that.
Looking into self. We've
unlearn to relearn.
More
we looking for sponsors. We need 3 shirts that say unlearn to relearn.
Lord, is somebody gonna do some t-shirts for that? Come on down.
Come on, man. Hey, put this first on.
Yeah.
Hey, I need an extra large. I need 2X.
For his head. That's a whole other story. So come back and talk to us next week, and we'll break this apart a little bit more. Like Mike said, we haven't even gotten into really understanding how do we identify the things within ourselves that we've identified as dysfunction. It's been spending the time around those dysfunctional inputs that have then created where we are. And now let's break that apart and let's start deciphering how do we really look into ourselves to decide whether what it is dysfunction or is this just who we are.
Whoa.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a good day.